Do you know who we are? Do you know who the three of us are?
Oh my god, are you Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures?
So I watched an entire season of Ghost Adventures because I like to make myself suffer. If this wasn't for a project, I would love to go into more detail on how dumbfoundingly stupid this show is, but the max length is 6 minutes and this is already wasting time, so let's get into it. Ghost Adventures is a show on the Travel Channel about a bunch of dudes walking around spooky locations and trying to find ghosts. For this project, I chose Season 8, which aired in 2013. There's no particular reason for this, it was just the first one available on Hulu. Although Hulu listed it as Season 11 for some reason, so I'm glad I double-checked before making this. Anyways, the format of the show goes as follows. The Ghost Adventures team goes to some supposedly haunted location, they interview a bunch of people who share their experiences with that location, and then they lock themselves in the building at night in order to see if they capture any supernatural occurrences. Spoiler alert, they usually don't! Yeah, here's the thing, Ghost Adventures isn't a good show. And this is coming from someone who absolutely loves ghosts, urban legends, and all that spooky stuff. My main problem with Ghost Adventures is that every episode is 44 minutes long and absolutely nothing happens throughout. Like previously stated, the episode is split into two parts, the first being a sort of history part and the second being the actual ghost hunting. You can usually tell how much quality evidence they got during that second section judging by how long that first part is. And I use the term evidence lightly, but we'll get back to that in a second. In the show's intro, Zach Bagans, lead investigator of the Ghost Adventures crew, explains how the main point of the show is to capture ghosts on video. They don't catch a single ghost on video this entire season, unless of course you count the orbs! I'm going insane. Now, maybe I just picked a really bad season, but all the evidence they gather throughout all 11 episodes of this season is heavily reliant on confirmation bias, which for those who don't know is a tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. And yes, I did swipe that straight from Google. All the evidence they gather throughout this entire season is either a light particle, which they immediately claim is a ghost every single time, because this is what a bug looks like. It can't be a bug, it's a ghost, obviously, it's not dust. An EVP, which supposedly captures the voice of ghosts, but is really just a vaguely English-sounding sound that they use to fit their narrative. And of course, we cannot forget about the Ghost Adventures' favorite excuse for evidence, energy! There is so much of this show that is just the crew telling the audience how they feel.
I felt like all this energy coming through my chest.
I feel like all the energy was drained out of me.
This dark, hellish, fiery energy inside Cell 13.
Now, there's nothing wrong with telling the audience how you're feeling in order to build up that tension, but they constantly try to act like this energy is definitive, unarguable proof that there is a ghost in the room. Whenever there's nothing happening, they quickly fill the time by explaining the energy in the room. There's a very strange energy in this room, or how one of them is feeling a very hostile energy around them. I am not kidding here when I say they actually use the fact that one of the members got goosebumps as evidence of a ghost because, and I quote, "He is obviously reacting to the energy in this room because it's giving him physical symptoms." Oh yeah, that could be it. Or maybe it's the fact that he was scared because, I don't know, he was in a spooky, supposedly haunted, abandoned hospital room all by himself? No, it's a ghost. One of my absolute favorite methods that they use to ghost hunt is by using the Xbox Kinect to see the ghosts, which that thing can barely pick up a living person, and you expect me to believe it can pick up the dead? They even try to use the fact that it isn't picking up one of the team members as some sort of paranormal evidence, but like, did they ever play Kinect Sports? It just doesn't work. People often try to say the show is fake, and maybe it is in its later seasons, but if I were to fake a ghost show, I make sure that there was, stuff actually going on. It also doesn't help that pretty much every single person they interview has some sort of super spooky story about how they came face to face with the devil himself, or the full-body apparition of their dead mother, or had a chair thrown at them or something. But then the actual ghost hunters are lucky if they can get a loud thud to appear in the other room. Once it finally feels like the episode is gaining some momentum and the hunt is finally getting somewhere, it just ends, and they move on to the next location. So obviously, I've done a lot of complaining about this show, but does that mean I didn't enjoy it? Hell no, this was super entertaining. Sure, it's pretty dumb, and I feel like by the end of it I was pretty burnt out by the show's formula, but there's definitely a reason why the show is still going strong today. Ghost Adventures is pretty much the blueprint for every other paranormal investigation show that came after it, and pretty much the first thing a lot of people think of when it comes to shows about ghost hunting. To deny its cultural impact would be absurd. Although there's a reason it hasn't won a single award. If I had to recommend any episodes from this season, I'd probably recommend the episodes where they investigate the Thornhaven Manor, as well as the Battle of Perryville. These two locations probably have the most convincing evidence of the season, which is surprising since the two episodes that precede these had the gang visiting Alcatraz and the real-life house that inspired the making of the movie The Exorcist. In conclusion, there is so much more that I'd like to talk about that I might make a longer video about it in my spare time, but for now, this show left me with absolutely no residual energy. I'm gonna go pass out now. Goodbye.